What is up, bros? It's me, Josh, here. In today's video, we are going over the Tier 10 USN Cruiser, the Worcester, the Worchester, the Worcestershire sauce, whatever you want to call it. You call it whatever you want. For the video alone, though, I will call it the Worcester. That's how I've been told it's called, but I've heard a ton of different versions, so you call it whatever you want. But in this video, we will just stick with the Worcester just for simplicity. This ship is going to be the Tier 10 version of the light cruisers for the USN Cruiser Split. And if you know, it's going to be alongside the Des Moines. The Des Moines will be the Tier 10 for the heavy side, and the Worcester will be the Tier 10 for the light side. Basically, one side will play more of the 203s, one side will have 203s, one side will have the 152s, which we've seen kind of like the Cleveland on the rework of that. And a lot of the other ships like the Boise and well, that's going to be the South American ship now. But a lot of the other ships at the lower tiers, now there's going to be an entire line that's more of like almost Atlanta play, if you've ever played that ship, where high rate of fire, lots of shells going out, and high A, but the damage itself is going to be a little less per salvo, but it's quantity over quality. So this ship has a lot of competition at Tier 10, and it's actually pretty fun. One, the two ships we're going to compare this to is, of course, the Des Moines at Tier 10, the heavy version, and the Minotaur, because this has basically been called like the HE Minotaur, with the Worcester having a lot of shells going out at a high rate of fire. It seems very similar to the Minotaur if you've ever played that, but this one doesn't have smoke. So let's just dive into the ship, and we'll get into some comparison and some quick gameplay. So the Worcester will have 45,400 life. That's a little low for this tier compared to smaller ships. On the Zawa was kind of rebalanced, so that's down to 40k, but just comparing it to the Des Moines is going to have 50k and a little bit more armor in general. If you just compare this armor layout right here, 27mm plating. Now it's not that much thinner of armor, but 25mm there, and just comparing everything else, pretty similar to the Des Moines. All in all, a little thinner, but like not too bad, I guess, comparing it again to the Des Moines. Des Moines is going to be a little bit more armored, but it's more of kind of like a heavy cruiser compared to this light cruiser line, so it's to be expected. But comparing it to the Minotaur, where the Minotaur is basically overmatched by almost everything, especially like the Henry, the tier 10 French cruiser, where it just blasts this. At least you'll have a little bit of armor compared to that, but you do have to play very cautiously because you are a light cruiser. It's actually going to be a light cruiser line. So torpedo protection of 19%. It's a cruiser. If you're taking torpedoes, you're going to be hurting anyways. Now the guns is kind of like what's showing off for the ship, as you have 6 set of 2, so 12 shells going out every 4 seconds. Now that is with the module of the reload, so if you aren't using this, it's going to be a little bit slower, and that's without any adrenaline rush buffs. But every 4 seconds, you're throwing out 12 shells. So just quickly with this captain, I will be running, as we show some gameplay, I will be running inertia fuse as well as demo expert. So overall 1% less fire than normal base, and the fire chance is 11. So if you had normal without inertia fuse, you'd have a 12% fire chance, which I actually think is a little high for the rate of fire on this. It seems like this thing just absolutely throws out fires all the time, and it's, you know, it's good and bad. I think that's one of the critiques I have for the ship. 16.7 kilometer range. Now, most of the time, the only thing you're going to be hitting at that range is 16. That's why you don't need the range module. That's why I go with the reload. You're not going to be hitting much at that range. You have so much of a loft on your shell. It's very similar to the Atlanta. I think this is the same as the Cleveland with 812 shell velocity meters per second. So very similar to the Cleveland currently at tier 6. So if you've played that, you know if you get outside about that 15 kilometer range, you have like a 15-second travel time. So if something's sitting still, bow tanking Yamato, bow tanking Montana, you know, GK that's kind of sitting, you know, bow tanking at an angle or something like that, you can hit stuff then, but most of the stuff, you're not going to be hitting a destroyer at 15 kilometers, 16 kilometers, almost 17 kilometers. So range module isn't needed. I just think, I mean, you'll have a 20+ second hang time if you're running the range module. This thing is an AA monster, very similar to the Minotaur. 121 DPS at 8.6 kilometer range. So this thing is going to start knocking planes out before it's even detected by air. 7.2 kilometers. So you're have about almost a 1.5 kilometer range where you're starting to knock out planes before you're even spotted. So this is something you've noticed if you've ever played a full AA Atlanta. You start knocking out planes before they're even spotted. The Minotaur as well. I don't have AFT on my Minotaur, but it's starting to knock out planes at 7.2. So with the Worcester, and of course I'm running AFT on the Captain as well as the AA module here. So that's the extra range. If you aren't running AFT or this module, you'll be at 7.2. So you're going to be right there. You're detected as soon as you start knocking planes out. But I like the extra range because you are that much more of a threat. I always say buff with modules and captain skills, what the ship is good at. The ship is really good at throwing out shells very quickly and knocking planes out. So that's what I always run with. Again, 121 DPS at 8.6. You're going to be over 400 at 7.2. It's an AA nightmare. Midway, send me your planes. I'd love some XP. You knock out that AA consumable and they're absolutely gone. So this thing is again, things I'm going to compare this most to is the Atlanta, the Minotaur, and the Des Moines. So just imagine an Atlanta at tier 10 or just a Minotaur at tier 10 with an AA consumable. So there you go. AA monster, it's absolutely nuts, off the charts. Maneuverability, it's relatively quick. What you're going to end up doing is getting relatively close to islands and using cover because you don't have smoke like the Minotaur does. You can't make your own cover with the smoke, so you're going to be running this almost like a Minotaur with a kind of a run and gun, go dark, reposition, run and gun, go dark, reposition. So you're relatively agile, just comparing it to the Des Moines, with 770 meters for the turning radius. So you're a little bit more agile, but with a overall slower rudder shift. So the turning circle is less, but the slower rudder shift compared to the DM. So if you play the DM, you're going to be kind of used to that. And just looking at the Minotaur, Minotaur is a lot more agile with the smaller turning radius, but overall a slower rudder shift. So actually, you're going to have a little bit, still slower than that. Concealment 9.5, and so if you do notice, I am running the radar module that'll extend the radar. You are detected at 9.5, and you have a radar of 9.9 kilometer range. So if you are detected, they're within your radar range, and with the radar module, you can have it for, I don't even know what's the exact value off the top of my head, 56 seconds, so almost an entire minute of firing on something that's within range. I'll show you guys the strength of that with the gameplay and with all these other tools. It's actually, this is one of the first ships you have to look down on and actually see what you're clicking, because not only do you have 1, 2, 3, you have 5 buttons you need to keep an eye on. So this is something you're going to be looking down and double check. I can't tell you how many times I clicked AA when I meant to hit Hydro, I clicked Radar when I meant to hit Heal. I mean, you're going all the way over to almost the other side. You know, if you're rolling normal WASDA, your hand can almost not reach the I key. So something definitely look down and click the right key, or else you're going to be blowing away a consumable here and using the wrong. You know, it doesn't really matter if there aren't CVs or something like that where you need to shoot down planes, but when you're trying to, you know, pop Hydro when you need that, or, you know, or what have you, there's going to be 5 buttons you have to really keep an eye out. And they basically gave this thing everything but smoke, so it's kind of interesting. And I got speed boost. But concealment 9.5, you're going to be less than the Des Moines, which is good. You can sneak up on stuff. You're not as stealthy as the Minotaur. Minotaur is actually pretty beast, and it was kind of showed the strength of a well-played Minotaur, and that what I mean by Minotaur is the radar Minotaur. 8.9 with 9.9 kilometer smoke, so pretty nasty. But the Worcester has the HE advantage over this. So overall, a really fun ship. Again, I will show you my modules. Of course, we're running all the premiums, and we have repair, Hydro, AA, radar, and heal. So you do get the heal. And upgrades, I'm running main armament mod 1, the radar module. Now, if I didn't have this, I would be running something like propulsion or something like that, because you need to be able to get away. You don't want to lose that at all, because you are not very armored. You got to be a little careful. Running AA or the AA range, get that 8.6 if you can. Steering gears for sure, get that, because you want to be as agile as possible. Concealment for sure, and then I run the main battery mod 3, because you want to pump out as much damage as possible. Now, I guess if you are really worried about AA guns, I guess you want to knock out more planes, you could add this. I just don't think it's needed. And then captain skills, again, we are running an inertia fuse captain on this. Priority target, AR, adrenaline rush, demo expert, concealment, picking up AFT for the extra range, inertia fuse, and then going back and picking up preventive mains just to have. So a lot of stuff has been talked about. Is this ship overpowered? Is it underpowered? Is it good? Is it balanced? And I'll show you guys some gameplay and kind of talk about it's very situational for this ship. It's a very interesting ship. I played a decent amount of games and found that this ship was relatively... It's squishy, so you have to be very careful. Again, you can't make that smoke land to kind of hide in and that smoke circle to kind of hide in. So you have to pick your fights good, or pick your fights kind of... You got to be very careful with where you start to open fire because you'll just get absolutely obliterated. Things with 203s will absolutely shred you up. But if you do get in the right position, this ship can be extremely, extremely strong, almost overpowered. And potentially overpowered, and I'll let you guys see. So let's switch over to some gameplay, and I'll quickly show you guys where the Worcester will excel, and just show you how freaking strong this ship can be if the scenario is correct. So here we are in game with the Worcester, and we actually got a pretty good map for this haven where there's lots of islands, and you can really use the land as your strength and really kind of get those arcs working for you. So things you're always going to be looking for with ships like this is tails of the islands right here, these edges where you can shoot over when you have a destroyer working with you, whether it be anything, planes too. We'll be sitting kind of here and then lobbing shells in. So what I'm actually going to do here is get into a position because teams tend to push around this corner and be relatively aggressive. I don't want my my bow to be into this because the only thing I can do is then slowly back up and potentially just die from that. So what I'm actually going to do is just work out, this is my plan, to work kind of hard, do a full turn, get my back here, back in a little bit, and then if I need to, I can push forward and drag this away if I need to. So that's the plan with this. Again, this is all going to be about location, 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 setting up and getting into a good spot where you can be very, very effective. Again, you can't tank. It's not like a Stalingrad where you can just bow tank. It's not like a Hindenburg where you can just kind of go open water, Henry like open water. You have to pick your fights pretty carefully, and we also got a pretty clutch smoke here from the destroyer. I didn't even know he was going to do that. But location, 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 preparation, get anything you can to kind of work in your advantage where you know they will be. Again, we already see the first ship going in. You know where they'll be, and then you can be effective by doing that. And again, you want to be close enough to get that radar. Again, we have a 9, oh, it doesn't even show it with the replays, a 9.9 range kilometer radar, so you want to be effective with that. So I want to get into a spot where I can get this whole area within range and support our destroyer if needed. And so right now I'm going to get into that spot where I can hopefully get some good deeps in and without being spotted. And here we're just going to start working in on these guys. So one thing I want you to do is watch the fires that this ship is absolutely. And again, right there, the Gearing's within range. We don't have an angle on him, but the Minotaur right here, and I will hopefully be able to work him down. So one thing too is I actually will turn off. You guys don't see it. Oh, there it is. That was actually really scary. Hindenburg right there could have absolutely destroyed me, right? Could have potentially death struck me. Well, maybe not death struck, but he could have definitely worked me down. So I actually shut off my AA there for a second, so I went undetected because I hadn't shot yet. So that was actually really scary. So if you guys ever see situations like that, just shut your AA off, even though you're a cruiser, plus the P key. And yeah, so he took a flood. So we're gonna see how fast we can make a Hindenburg disappear. And again, this is with the inertia fuse. So me and this Minotaur are just gonna chunk this guy down. 10k. There's another 2k off that. And this is the strength of this ship. Things are within range, and a little baby gearing within radar range. Again, we have almost a minute on this at a 4-second reload. There's a nice little 4300. Now, I'm only going HE on this. Potentially, if I would have gone AP, he would have melted even faster. But with inertia fuse, it's so strong, and I'll take a 3-4k salvo on destroyers, so I'm pretty good with that. So already 2 engagements, and we were at 31k with a 31k with a kill already. So, and one thing I wasn't sure what this Minotaur was, and he actually popped that clutch smoke. So we just got to sit here and farm. Again, I think this ship is, you have to be very careful with where you go. And as you can see, love that minnow. First salvo we got on this Bismarck it was a double fire, and so our next salvo, really accurate shells, awesome rate of fire, and boom, it is instantly a double fire. So already we're gonna switch to another target, start farming some more damage. Again, I'm not really even using the AP on this. I'm just straight up using, I think it still shows me clicked on the Bismarck, but we switched over to the Iowa. Iowa has a fire on him. This is probably my only critique on this ship, is rate of fire with this fire chance. There's a 5k salvo with inertia fuse. We're lighting fires. We're up to 6 fires already, and only a little bit with that rate of fire. This Iowa, we'll just start working on him as well. It seems to be clicking on some other ships right now, but this is prime. This is just free farm. Now it just happens to be the Bismarck. There's the secondary challenge right now, so there's a lot of battleships, and Bismarck's, you know, as always, a free farm. Again, a double fire right there. Things are just getting murdered. First 5 minutes, we're over 90k, almost 100, easily 100k with those fires. But I feel like the ship maybe lights too many fires. You know, technically we would have a little bit higher of a fire chance if we didn't take inertia fuse, but you just want that alpha damage. So I could see, I don't think this ship's gonna be changed much. With its upcoming release with the 7.5, and this Minotaur kind of is he wouldn't move at all, which is kind of a bummer, but it's kind of all right. We're just gonna take this. So I gotta back up now. But I feel like the ship maybe lights too many fires. I think the fire chance might be a bit too high, especially for this tier. And we're gonna throw on the sonar because we know there's a DD out somewhere. We saw all the torps. And you know, it's kind of blocking us in right here. But other than that, that's my only critique. Now we got basically set up. This is a really fast game too, so it's like almost over. Already 120k in 6 minutes. So in that last minute, we did, you know, an extra 30k, and we're going down. So this is going to be a very map dependent ship. A very map dependent ship. We're trying to find our radar. So this is when it gets a little scary. And I figured I'll just start gunboating because it's might as well, right? There's no reason not to. If those battleships want to hit me, they can. And we're up massively on points. But this is going to be a very map-dependent ship. This is a good map for this ship. It really is. High rate of fire. There are other ones, though, that are not going to be that good. I think Tears of the Desert might be a pretty tough one for this ship. So you're very situationally like reliant for this ship to do well consistently, and then you're very map dependent. So does that mean it's overpowered? Does that mean it's this? I don't. There's nothing wrong with having a ship that's really strong with certain situations, right? Like, it's going to excel with certain situations. But man, like, this is nasty. I think this is the only ship that could have done this. I mean, the Minotaur probably also would have done massive amounts of damage, but with this rate of fire, taking out the destroyer like that, I think this is the only ship that would have been able to do this, and that dude is going to get absolutely obliterated. I mean, we're looking at 8-minute game right now, 140k damage, and there's a detonation, so at least he gets some flags. I mean, just absolutely slaughtered. So, I know we've seen a lot. Is the ship overpowered? Is the ship this? I don't think it's overpowered. I think the ship is extremely strong. Thank God that guy doesn't know what AP is, because that would hurt. I think it's extremely strong, but it's so dependent on things to go right. There's so many games where I've played with this ship. Now, almost every game I've played with the Worcester has gone extremely fast. It's gone extremely fast. This thing just is absolute hell for destroyers to play against. If you're within range, you're dead. You just are going to die. But there's also times where I've gotten just a little bit overextended, a little bit, you know, maybe a little bit in an aggressive spot, and then just kind of gotten cornered and just blown off the map, you know, getting chunked for 20, you know, 15k or whatever with its lack of armor. Is the ship overpowered? I don't think it is overly overpowered. I do think it's very, very strong in situations like that, which would be like, come on, how am I supposed to do anything against this ship? You can't see it, can't do anything. But I think I think those situations are going to be a lot more rare than the other times where it's like, okay, I can't move, I have to wait. I mean, I have more games in the lower damage bracket then, like, I haven't had an insane game with this. I haven't had a 200,000-300,000 damage game in this ship yet. I've had a lot of like 60s, 70s, but really fast games. So this is a perfect ship that is going to be, it's really good at what it does, but is it overpowered? I don't know. I don't really think so. I don't think so. It's very strong. It's very strong. It's kind of just like the Atlanta. Some people think the Atlanta is overpowered. The Atlanta is fantastic at what it does. It's going to shred planes. It's going to murder things within 12 kilometers, 13 kilometers. But outside of that, it's not super scary. So if you play against the Worcester correctly, you can be very punishing to it, and you can kind of abuse it a little bit. It's going to be one of those that's going to have a hard skill gap. Basically, imagine yourself playing the Mimitar or Radar Minotaur with HE. So you're going to get rewarded for knowing how to play it correctly. You're going to get punished for that ship being played overly aggressive and incorrectly. If you see a Worcester with open water firing, it's going to end up being a free kill. So I see this ship having a relatively high skill gap. I think the entire line of the light cruisers is going to have a relatively high skill gap. And again, this ship is going to be hard to play consistently well because you are punished for your mistakes, just as you are with the Minotaur. You know, the Des Moines can kind of tank a little bit better than these ships. But again, is it overpowered? I'm going to give it the no. But is it extremely, extremely strong in the right situation? Yeah, this thing is going to be brutal. If you get a team like that, you're going to get shredded in 8-9 minute game. You're going to get farmed for 150 plus K, and there's going to be nothing you can do about it. So, one, if you're playing against the Worcester, be very careful. Keep an idea where it is. Get some range on it because it's not going to be able to hit you extremely far away. If you are playing the Worcester, be prepared to have an exit. Do not overextend. Do not get in a situation where you do not have an outplay. If you get into an aggressive spot and saying, I'm going to radar this DD, and then you're overextended and basically locked out, you are just going to get absolutely obliterated off the planet, and there's nothing you're really going to be able to do. So anyways, guys, I want to do a quick little review on this ship, preview on this ship. It's still technically work in progress, so things are subject to change. Again, my only big critique on this is I think it may have too high of a fire chance, and I could see them toning it down. Do I think they're going to do anything? No. 7.5 is coming up in just a few days, and I think this ship will come out exactly like it is. But anyways, again, look down on your keys because you're going to have like 5 consumables or whatever. But anyways, guys, just want to do a quick little video on this thing, showing off where it can be extremely strong and kind of my thoughts on this ship. And anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.